Okay, so I'm recapping all of the first part of the first case of Elements of Justice. I've recapped it all. I went through minute by minute as it goes, which was 56 minutes long. Now the next one, I'm gonna need lots of cans, lots of drinks, lots of snacks, lots of beverages, mind you, lots of beverages, because the next part is 2 hours, 8 minutes and 51 seconds long. 2 hours, 8 minutes, 51 seconds. And there's blue blood, I guess. That's blue blood. So, grab your drinks, grab your snacks, grab your beverages, grab whatever that you can. This one's gonna be one of the. This is gonna be the longest reaction video that I have ever done in my YouTube channel. Wow. Over a year's work, over a year. This is going to be mental. Folks, this is going to be the longest reaction video that I have ever done in my YouTube channel. This is 2 hours, 8 minutes, 50 seconds long. I will be taking breaks during this video, but I will timestamp where I last left off. I will timestamp it. But as of now, what's up everyone? It is me, Elusive Al, and welcome to over a year's work of the next installment part of Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney / My Little Pony Friendship is Magic Elements of Justice Turnabout Theatre Case 1, Part 2 of 3. Alright, so like I mentioned, it has been over a year since Part 1 of the project came out. The long-awaited project of the sequel to its original content back 7 years ago. And finally, they've given out updates. They've told us to wait patiently. And now, we had the release date. It's been uploaded, and a couple of days later, this came out in August the 7th, yeah, and I'm reacting to this on August the 10th, but it might be in August the 11th too, although the time is now 6:42. And if I watch the entire thing, it will be, according to, 8:50. So, yeah, if I watch it now, but I'm not gonna watch it like all of the duration while I'm watching it. I'm gonna watch an hour, and then when it gets to the hour mark, we're going to be taking a break, and we'll move on within the next hour during the night. Okay, sound good? All right. So there'll be a camera cut for the hour break. All right. So yes, Case 1, Part 2 of the Turnabout Theatre by Ace Attorney, Elements of Justice YouTube channel. Turn that off because you guys might want to hear me better without any background noises. So yeah, get it back to the start. Full screen. And let's do this. Alright. Get my... Actually, I'll have one in. Get my earbud ready. And, yeah. Let's do this. Let's commence with the next part of Turnabout Theatre. I've been waiting a long time for this. For the next part to come out. Over a year. And here we go. Starting the next part of Turnabout Theatre. In 3, 2, 1. Objection! February 12th, 9:20 a.m. Manhattan District Court. Defendant Lobby Number 2.
I never thought I'd come back to this world, let alone take on another trial. Come to think of it, I haven't set foot in a courtroom in general for a good while.
Oh? Why's that?
Remember what Athena was talking about yesterday? That was our last case, and that was well over a month ago.
Oh, well, I'm sure there's no need to worry. You were disbarred for 7 years like you said yesterday, but you've still taken on plenty of murder cases before and since, right? You have a lot of experience under your belt. Just because there's been a little bit of a hiatus doesn't mean you'll revert back to being a rookie.
She's probably right, but I'm pretty sure I felt like one several times throughout my career.
There's nothing wrong with a little refresher, though. Right, Apollo?
Sure. I'm pretty confident Mr. Wright's got this, though. Besides, I'd rather focus on making sure you're up to speed on things.
Hey, come on. I'm not a newbie anymore. I can keep up with everyone else, no sweat.
Athena, there's no shame in being inexperienced. We've all got to start somewhere.
This is so cool! We're about to watch Daddy defend in court in a whole nother world! With cute, magical ponies!
You can say that again. I can't contain my excitement. Well, I'm happy to see that you're all enjoying yourselves. And thanks again, everyone. I really appreciate you being here today.
Of course!
This certainly is going to be the
I've only
experience of a
noticed as
lifetime,
well of the
despite
Princess Luna
circumstances.
plaque
By
in the
way,
background
Twilight,
too,
There's something I've been
which
wanting
is
to ask
taken from that Halloween
What is it,
special
Apollo?
episode.
You mentioned that murder is nearly unheard of in Equestria. The first one to supposedly happen was for the case where Mr. Wright defended Rainbow Dash. How advanced can your criminal laws be if such serious crimes rarely, if ever, occur?
Apparently, they're nearly identical to ours. I remember Twilight saying something like Equestria's judicial system was inspired by humans.
Yes.
That's right. I've read many books on both humans and human law. The human legal system has been refined through countless years of study and practice, and yet it is still evolving. That's why equestrian law is practiced very similarly, and what influenced the designs of nearly all of Equestria's courthouses.
Well, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, as they say.
Hey, boss.
What's up,
I was just wondering, who's gonna be your co-counselor for the trial?
I don't see anyone else who would be up for the task, and we don't have the right badges.
I figured it'd be best to go
Twilight,
with
yeah.
She was my co-counsel during Rainbow Dash's trial, after
Yeah,
all.
she was.
But doesn't she need an equestrian attorney's badge to be allowed to stand in court?
Nope. Since I'm a princess, I can stand in court without the need of a badge.
But weren't you just a unicorn during Rainbow Dash's case? How could you be Mr. Wright's co-counsel if you weren't a princess?
Well, since I was Princess Celestia's student at the time, she gave me special permission. Phoenix had no experience in how Equestria worked, so we made an appeal to the Equestria High Council to allow me to be there to assist him.
I know you'd love to help out, Athena, but playing it safe for Miss Pommel's sake is our best option. With Twilight by my side, we've got someone who knows the rules of this world like the back of their hand. Hoof.
Thank you.
I gotcha, boss.
back of the hand.
Speaking of Miss Pommel,
Hoof.
she's here.
Oh, Coco Pommel.
Huh? What's up with Coco all of a sudden? She seemed fine yesterday.
Good morning, Mr. Wright.
Morning, Rarity. What's wrong with Coco?
I'm not sure myself. I saw her being escorted here by the guards with this rather, despondent look upon her face. It pained me to see her looking like that just before her trial, so I thought I'd steal her away from the guards with a little pony charm. I was hoping I could figure out what
Oh,
to
Rarity.
mind, but I'm afraid I haven't been able
Of
to
course,
get
the
a single word
beauty,
out of
the
her.
sophistication.
This place is in some serious trouble if someone genuinely dangerous is ever trusted to guards like those. Hey, Coco. How are you holding up? Wow. She's really out of it today.
Oh, the poor thing. The trial has her worried sick.
I guess that's understandable. It can't just be that, though. Can it?
All right, Miss Pommel, you've got nothing to fear. You're innocent, and Daddy here will prove it. He'll show everyone that you had nothing to do with Overall Concept's murder. Oh, darling, it's okay. It's okay. I know how much you cared about him. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. It's fine. Darling, there's something stuck in your mane.
What is that? Looks like glitter?
It's like glitter or
Haven't had
what
a
they're
chance
called
to
in your
clean
hair.
myself since I got
Dandruff.
arrested.
Oh, Coco! How dare they allow you to stay dirty in detention? Especially in your state? Why, that's horrible!
Rarity, can you give me a second? I need to calm myself down before the trial begins.
Of course, darling. Go lay on that couch over there and mellow out. It'll help, I promise.
Well, you would know. Okay, Rarity, if you'll excuse me. Overall Concept must have been very special to her.
He was. The two always seemed so happy
Okay,
together.
hold on one second.
If both of their letters to me were any indication,
Gonna let the video keep playing.
every pony who worked with them thought so too.
It must be hard to lose such a good friend like that. I can't even imagine how she feels.
Yeah, it's rough.
There you go.
It's something I wouldn't wish on anyone.
Sorry,
And it
car's
only
going
makes
past.
it worse that she's accused of murdering him. But that's exactly why we need to fight for her. It's the only way to get her out of this and bring her some peace of mind.
You're right, Phoenix.
So, Twilight, do you have any information on who we're up against?
You mean the prosecutor?
Yeah. Any idea who it's gonna be?
I believe it's going to be Princess Celestia's nephew.
She has a nephew?
Princess Celestia's
That make him,
nephew.
Prince? Yes. And yes. In fact, his name is Prince Blueblood.
Pompous excuse for a stallion?
Rarity, please, inside voice. This is a courthouse.
Oh,
I didn't know
right.
Princess Celestia's nephew was Blue Blood.
Bad terms with him then.
Bad terms? Well, I've never met a stallion whom I've had such high hopes for, only to have them come crashing down. Of course I'm still on bad terms with him.
Bad terms!
He's the
And he's the prosecutor! Because he
For the experience.
is a nuisance to my mate!
Why him? I swear to Celestia, he better keep that horse's mouth shut about my little Coco. Or I will show him what it truly means to be a royal pig.
Royal pay!
Okay, getting hostile. How about you go join Coco on the couch to calm yourself down? She could use your company.
Yes, you're right. Goodness, I cannot believe how mad that stallion makes me.
He's so irrefutable!
Isn't she?
You don't know the half of it.
That screaming almost rivals your cords of steel, Apollo.
For real. She's about as soft as a marshmallow at first glance, until you anger her and she comes at you with the fire and intensity of 1,000 suns.
So, you're saying that she turned into a roasted marshmallow? Now thinking about it, it makes me hungry. I wish I have some words with me.
Twilight, what did you mean just now when you said this Prince Blueblood is doing this for experience? What could warrant someone like him prosecuting a case?
Well, he is royalty. Like I said, he's probably using this murder trial as an opportunity to gain some trial experience. After all, if you're ever going to rule a kingdom in Equestria, you're going to need extensive knowledge on the law and how to uphold it. As a matter of fact, I've been studying a lot of law since I became a princess myself.
No kidding. How are you finding it?
Oh, it's been so enjoyable. I can't tell you how amazing it has been. Learning about all the laws that are in place.
Yep.
So, it's like an exam then. You study, then
Yeah.
the trials you take part in test how much you've learned and what sort of knowledge they're after. Like the one this
I mean,
Blueblood
she
guy's
now
taking
has a
part in
huge
today.
library full of books, and there's like laws in there, and studies, and
I certainly don't remember my
All
law school
things.
experience being so fun.
fictions and non-fictions.
So, based on the location of your castle, does that mean Ponyville is technically your kingdom?
I wouldn't exactly say that. It's just a place where all my friends live, so I figured, why not have the castle there too? Then again, the castle sort of grew. I mean, built itself. I have no say in it.
The castle built itself? Do I even want to know how that's possible?
A lot has happened in the year and a half since you were here last.
You transformed into an alicorn, became a princess,
Yeah.
and now you have your own castle that apparently built itself?
Yeah.
I thought my life was crazy, but your life really got turned upside down.
The trial's about to begin. Will the defendant and their attorney please enter the courtroom?
Yep. Alicorn, princess, castle being built by itself.
We have a trial to take on. I hope you're
Yep.
ready, Phoenix.
Ask the student 6.
Good luck, Mr. Wright.
We'll be cheering you on from the gallery.
Break a leg, Daddy!
Thanks, everyone. All right. Twilight, let's head inside.
Right behind you, Phoenix.
Let's go. Do this for Coco. Here we go. Court is now in session. All arise. Wow, look at that.
Court is now in session for the trial of
Judge!
prosecution and defense ready.
The prosecution has naturally been ready and waiting.
Oh, blue blood.
The defense is ready. Your Honor!
Yes,
Knew
he's
you'd
back.
be surprised to see me, Mr. Wright.
New? But what?
Twilight summoned him.
Why is the judge
Twilight
here?
summoned him again.
Oh, wow. Hiya, Judge.
Mr. Justice and Miss Spinks? Is that you over there?
Don't forget me, Your Honor!
Oh, Miss Wright. It seems as though Mr. Wright's brought the whole gang along.
Twilight, what exactly is going on here?
Oh, did I forget to mention that I summoned the judge here again?
Yes, you did.
Yes!
Sorry. There's just been so much going on. I guess it just slipped my mind. But hey, it is a nice surprise seeing him again, right?
Even the judge is more aware of what's going on here than I am. That's a new low.
That's a new low.
So, why did you summon him again?
Yeah,
I thought you
it's
said Princess Celestia is the one who usually presides as the judge.
it's great revisiting him again.
No, I just thought you'd be more comfortable having a familiar figure presiding, much like before. So, I put in a request to summon him again, and the court agreed. Besides, your judge loves being in Equestria. He stayed a while after you left last time, you know? Apparently, he really wanted to see the Summer Sun celebration. I knew he'd jump at the chance to come
The
back.
Summer Sun celebration.
That's very thoughtful of you, Twilight. I certainly do feel at home with him sitting up there. And I can't think of a judge more fair than him, if I'm being honest.
Being here again brings back memories. I hope you all have as wonderful a time here as I did, Mr. Wright.
Well, they were kind of dragged along, so they had no choice.
If I may interject, may we
No.
cease this chit-chat and get on with the trial already?
No, shut up.
Of course. My
You,
apologies.
Blue Blood, shut up.
Prince Blue Blood, correct?
Yes, Your Honor. I am like no other prince in Equestria.
Oh, great. Another prosecutor who looks like they're going to ensure an unpleasant experience.
That being said, what are you supposed to be?
Me? What am I supposed to be? My name's Phoenix Wright. I'm Miss Pommel's defense attorney.
Ah, so it is you then. The famous Phoenix Wright, the human lawyer who served as the defense in the TS5 incident?
The TS5 incident?
TS5?
Sounds like our legal system isn't the only human thing ponies imitated.
The trial that took place a year and a half ago, following that unfortunate incident near Ponyville.
Oh, that
He
incident.
must be talking
Yeah,
about
Rainbow
Mr.
Dashes.
trial.
Yeah.
I suppose it must have been big news, considering the circumstances.
I must say, it was an impressive victory, especially since you proved that there wasn't even a murder to begin with. Unfortunately for you, your defeat here is guaranteed, as this case could not be more open and shut. I'd recommend giving up before I bring the same shame and humiliation upon you that I brought upon the rest of the attorneys I have encountered. As a stallion of royal blood, losing to a commoner such as yourself is something I am simply incapable of doing.
Just ticking every box on how not to make a good first impression, aren't you, buddy?
Now, I think it's about time we got on with the trial.
Yes.
Will the prosecution please begin their opening statement?
Of course, Your Honor.
Here we go, Phoenix.
Right. Come on.
Crime took place in the Bridalway Theater,
Yep.
located in the heart of Manhattan, where the play Hinny of the Hills was being performed.
Any of the hills,
I have
right.
a promotional poster for the play here.
Okay. Plus that advertised Hinny of the Hills, also 7 hours prior to its start. Okay.
Oh, this looks interesting. I'll have to get a ticket to the next show as soon as the trial is over.
God damn it, Judge.
Unfortunately, Your Honor, that will be impossible. Due to the obviously unforeseen circumstances, all future showings at Bridalway Theater are on hold. And besides, the show in question was completely sold out 7 hours before the play even started.
7
The last
hours?
ticket was
4?
bought by the defendant around noon of that day. You'll be hard-pressed to find an opportunity to buy a ticket, let alone actually manage to see the play.
Well, that's a shame. I don't suppose there are any other sites in the city I could catch while I'm here?
I've heard that there'll be some sort of race here soon. I suppose if you're still here, you could watch that.
I'm not really into watching races like all of the young people are these days. My brother is, though. He's been...
If you don't mind, Your Honor, I'd like us to get back to the case of proof.
Oh,
Case.
yes, of course. My apologies. Please continue, Prince Blueblood.
Thank you, Your Honor. The victim in this case is Overall Concept, who worked as the head costume designer for the theater. Allow me to present his autopsy report for your perusal.
Severe spinal cord, like bruised from the back hair, whose conscious. Right.
It seems as though the victim was unconscious at the time of his death. It's at least comforting to know that he didn't suffer.
Yeah.
Indeed, Your Honor.
The victim was unconscious when he died. I'd better remember that.
Unconscious.
As for the defendant in this case, that would be the victim's assistant, Miss Coco Pamel, who joined the theater several months ago. On that fateful night, Miss Pamel and Mr. Concept were in the dressing room working on various costumes as the play was being performed. This is likely how glitter found its way to the victim's forehooves.
Cakewalk. I'm sorry. Catwalk. But you got it right. Well done.
Attempting to save himself, Mr. Concept fled, but Miss Pamel gave chase. The victim ran up to the catwalk that runs above the stage, with the unsuspecting actor still performing below. It was on this catwalk where the defendant caught up to the victim and mercilessly attacked him once more, knocking him unconscious with a blow to the back of the head. Wasting no time, she wrapped a noose around the unconscious victim's neck. With the other end of the rope tied to the catwalk's railing, she pushed his body off the edge and hanged him in front of a full house of 5,000 ponies.
5,000?
My word! What a cruel and horrible way to die!
I wholeheartedly agree.
In front of 5,000
Hold on a
ponies?
This is just pure speculation. What makes you think my client is the killer? She and the victim were good friends.
And you think the fact that they were friends is enough to let her off the hook? Nonsense. I expected better from you, human.
If your case has as much evidence as your opening statement, it might as well be enough. I expected more than just pure speculation from you, Mr. Blueblood.
Prince Blueblood.
Oh, shut up!
None of this is, as you say, pure speculation. Not only
Oh, Blue Blood is getting my blue vein bloods pumping in anger every time he
That
speaks.
witness he's talking about must be Playwright.
Right. And allegedly he saw Coco chasing Overall up to the catwalk.
Let's hope he doesn't say anything too conclusive before you even get a chance to fight back.
Please call this witness to the stand, Prince Blueblood.
Of course, Your Honor.
Oh,
Witness, state your
it's
name and
Playwright.
occupation for the
That's
record.
it.
The name's Playwright. I'm the director of Broadway Theatre. My job is to make sure that all of my plays are nothing short of masterpieces.
Your passion for the craft is duly noted, witness. Now, is it true that you saw the defendant chasing the victim 2 nights ago?
Yes, it is. I couldn't stand their loud hoof steps. I was worried that they were going to interrupt my play, you see. This performance was the best one yet.
It truly is a shame that your play was interrupted by such a horrific tragedy. Mr. Playwright, I would like for you to please testify as to what you saw on the night of the murder.
It would be my pleasure.
This is it, Phoenix.
Let's hear what he has to say.
Alright. Cross-examination! We'll get into the testimony first, but then it's the cross.
I was in the left wing of the stage, watching my play being performed.
Say left wing.
Suddenly, I saw Mr. Concept being chased by Miss Pommel up the catwalk.
Okay.
I tried to ignore the disturbance they were causing, but then I saw Mr. Concept hanging right above center stage. I ran up to
I'm
the
always this
catwalk
focused
immediately
when
and saw
I'm
Miss
playing the
Pommel
Phoenix
looking
Wright
down from where
as
Mr.
well.
Concept fell. As much as I hate to believe it, Miss Pommel must have been the one who killed him. I can't see anything else that would suggest otherwise.
Okay. Alright.
So the defendant really was chasing the victim.
Yes, I have no doubt in my mind.
But why?
You might not, but I do. Besides, you can't pronounce Coco Pommel's name properly.
Oh yeah, I know it's that,
He
yeah.
seems pretty confident.
Don't they all? Anyway, all we
Don't
need
they all?
is Coco
And then they end up, nope.
Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination.
Cross-examination. Let's do this! Let's hold them up.
I was in the left wing of the stage, watching my play being performed.
Hold it.
Hold it! What was this play about?
It's about a mare named Hinny. She's an orphan who's determined to find her parents, who she was separated from at birth.
Okay.
Oh? How'd they get separated?
Well, it's an incredible tale.
Objection! Do you mind? Some of us are still planning to see this play when the showings resume. How dare you try to spoil it for me?
But didn't
Not
you...
to mention, the plot is absolutely irrelevant to this case.
Oh, of course. My apologies. I just love talking about
Just
this.
get it on DVD!
Oh, but I wanted to know how it all ends.
Get it on DVD!
So, you
There
said
might
you
be
were
a
watching from the
DVD
left
of
side
it!
the stage. Didn't the chase happen on the right side, though?
Oh, are you referring to it as the house left wing? In that case, no, I was on the other side.
But you just said you were on the left side.
Do you know anything about the performing arts?
Kinda? I mean, I was in the art department at college. I, actually wanted to be a stage actor myself.
You?
Okay, we're back. Sorry about that. My brother had to walk in to use the toilets. And then we'll carry on later in the night. In 3, 2, 1. Three, 2, 1, go.
Trust me, you wouldn't last a day in the business. I can tell.
Yeah, thanks for the advice on a career choice I gave up on nearly 15 years ago.
15 years ago.
Anyway, since you're obviously on the ignorant side when it comes to stage terminology, let me give you a little lesson. They were running through the stage left wing, but it's also called the house right wing. You call it stage left if you're looking at the audience from the stage, and you call it house right if you're looking at the stage from the audience. I just tend to go with the stage terms because I'm usually behind the curtains.
So... is it left or right?
If it makes it easier for you, I'll go with your version and call it the right side. Does that make you feel better?
Yes, actually. Anyway, why watch from the side? Wouldn't directors normally watch from the audience?
You're right. Many directors do tend to watch from the audience, but I like to be up close and personal during a performance. I want to make sure that my performers are at the top of their game.
Are you saying that you aren't confident in your actors to give it their all?
Oh, of course not! My performers are among the best in the business! Or they are now, at least. I just take a few extra precautions to make sure that my plays are absolute perfection.
I see. So, no mistakes at all then?
Not one. Everything went flawlessly up to the second act. We were on track for a perfect performance if it wasn't for what was happening backstage. Suddenly, I saw Mr. Concept being chased by Miss Pommel up the catwalk.
Hold it! You saw Miss Pommel chasing the victim? Weren't you watching the stage for any potential screw-ups from your actors?
Well, I had no choice but to look. Their obnoxiously loud hoof steps were distracting me from watching my play. It made me want to find whoever it was and scream at them, but it was during the show, so I had to keep quiet. I did complain to my stage manager, though. He was standing right next to me during both acts of the play.
His stage manager was with him. I suppose that gives him a solid alibi then. Were there any breaks during the play?
Yes, one. A 15-minute intermission between acts 1 and 2.
15 minutes.
And what were you doing during that time?
Acts 1 and 2.
Overseeing the stage hooves work. They had a lot to do to get ready for the second act, you see.
What did this work entail?
Well, they had to completely clear the stage of all the props, as well as any debris that would cause problems for the actors on stage. Mainly tripping hazards.
What time was all of this happening?
The intermission started at around 8 o'clock and it ended at 8:15.
Alright, so
The
8,
second act would
8:15.
have run from then until 9 o'clock if Overall hadn't been murdered.
Did you see Overall at all during the intermission?
Actually, I did. He came on stage briefly to discuss something with me, and then he left right before the intermission ended. He said he and his
What
assistant
time,
had
though?
to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric and paint.
What did you two talk about?
That's a private matter. It has nothing to do with this case, I assure you.
You're not the one who gets to make that judgment, Mr. Playwright. Tell us what he wanted to talk to you about. Remember, you're under oath.
Witness, please tell us what you discussed with the victim.
It was just something related to the fabric. That's all.
The fabric?
Fabric.
Yes. I asked him to make a special fabric for the next show we were planning. He wanted to confirm the details with me.
That must be the special fabric he told Rarity about in his letters to her. Did you see him again after that?
Not until the chase, no.
Even though the two of them met, it would have been before the time of death. I seriously doubt anything could have been done to throw that off, given the state of the crime scene. I guess this means Playwright can't be the killer. And when did the chase occur again?
It was near the conclusion of the play. I'd say it was probably around 8:50 p.m.
The time of death is estimated to be between 8:30 p.m. and 9 p.m. This all lines up perfectly with the prosecution's case.
8:39.
Which way did you look when you noticed the victim and my client?
To the right, of course.
To the right.
So is the stagehouse corruption thing still applied here?
Forget it. I'll just show you on the diagram. I was watching the stage from this side.
Alright,
and
that
I looked
side.
in this direction to see
That
what was
way.
causing all the
Yeah.
ruckus.
So, you were facing the dressing
So if you're
room then.
that way, you're
Yes.
looking
How
that
exactly
way.
did you know it was them? Isn't the backstage dark during the play?
Yes, but not pitch black. I was able to make out their silhouettes. Not to mention, they were the only two ponies who were on that side of the stage.
On that side, does that mean there was someone else on the other side of the stage?
Yes, the stage hooves I mentioned before. They were all positioned at the right, or rather left if we're going by house terms, wing of the stage.
which
How long have they been there?
They were there throughout the entire first act. During the intermission, they came on stage to clean and prepare for Act 2. Then, they returned to the left wing for the second act.
In that case, what brought you to the conclusion that Coco was chasing overall? Couldn't it have been
so
one of the
rule
stage
out the
hooves
other
that caught
ponies
them
then who are on the other side because they didn't see what was happening.
Sorry, human, but that's impossible. The stage hooves were all interrogated after the incident. They claimed that not a single one of them left the right wing during the second act. I assume your next proposal is going to be that all of the stage hooves were in league with one another and plotted to murder overall concept together?
That seems unlikely. We better look for other possibilities. No, it isn't.
Pity. I was looking forward to putting you down even more.
Shut up, Blue
But
Blood.
I would like Mr. Playwright to clarify exactly how he knew the figures he saw were Coco and overall.
It was pretty dark, but I could make out a little of their faces. Miss Pommel looked a little scared yet determined. She was chasing a stallion who was running for help after all. As for Mr. Concept, he looked very angry.
Angry.
Hey, I don't blame him. He'd just been attacked by his partner, no less.
I'd be more scared than angry if some pony was attacking me.
Good point. Let's see what other little tidbits we can get out of Playwright. Maybe he'll let something slip that we can use later on.
I tried to ignore the disturbance they were causing, but then I saw Mr. Concept hanging right above center stage.
Hold it! There was a disturbance?
The hard hoof steps from them on the wooden floor were already bad enough.
Yeah.
Mix that with the rattling
The
catwalk
trotting
and that
and
loud
the
clang. That's enough to ruin a play as it is.
yeah.
Not to mention that horrific hanging that happened not even a minute after they ran by.
How did you react to his death?
How do you think? Just like everyone
Wow,
else inside.
Phoenix. What a
Scared,
question.
Horrified, distraught. My play was ruined, and one of my employees was killed.
What a really interrogating of a question that was. How did you react to his death?
And I was shocked at what I found.
What did you...
I ran up to the catwalk immediately and saw Miss Pommel looking down from where Mr. Concept fell.
Hold it! And how did Miss Pommel appear when you saw her there?
She looked unfocused, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. As soon as I saw her, I could tell. Miss Pommel pushed Mr. Concept off the catwalk with the noose that had been prepared.
Wait a minute. You're claiming that the noose had been prepared before the chase?
Honestly.
So a noose was
look at the
already tied
poster.
up.
You can see it right there as plain as day.
Oh yeah, there, yeah.
I can see right through you, human. You were planning on asking, why would the defendant have prepared a noose on the catwalk if she was never planning to go up there? Huh, an argument befitting a monkey such as yourself.
Well, this monkey's quick on his feet. So, this
Oh,
noose
wait,
was
should I
already
laugh at
lying
that?
on the catwalk at the time of the crime.
That's right. It was supposed to be used during the climax of the play, but I certainly didn't plan for that kind of climax.
Aren't we all
If it
though?
makes you feel better, it's a twist ending no one will ever forget. When exactly was this news prepared?
It was during the intermission. That was another task the stage moves had to complete before the second act, on top of clearing the catwalk of any debris. I can assure you it was done flawlessly. I went up there just as they were finishing to check it myself. The noose was ready, and the catwalk was spotless. From that point on, the stage moves were positioned on the left side of the stage, and I was on the right side with my stage manager.
Did the stage hooves report anyone going up to the catwalk during the second act?
They did not. Along with none of them leaving their positions, not a single one has made mention of seeing any pony go up or down the stairs, leading to the catwalk after the second act had begun, even after the murder had occurred.
So, it's a classic locker room murder then. Are you sure that you saw no one else while you were up there?
No one
I'm
else?
certain. No one else was on that catwalk besides Miss Pommel and myself.
Right.
She was standing right above where Mr. Concept was, you know, pushed down from.
Did you see anything else on the catwalk at all?
Well, there was a small pile of glitter and a glitter-stained fabric roll next to Miss Pommel, but I didn't pay them much attention, really.
Glitter-stained fabric roll. Huh. When
So
we went to
that must
investigate
be
the
where the
yesterday, we
glitter.
only saw the pile of glitter.
That would be because the police already removed it for examination. I have it
So
right
where?
here.
So where was?
It was found exactly where the witness said it was in his testimony.
So there's the glitter roll, right? One fabric roll was traced to glow stunts with found the corners of several exposed splinters.
I say, Prince, do my eyes deceive me, or does that fabric roll have several splinters sticking from it?
It does indeed, Your Honor. It would appear as though this roll has seen its fair share of use over the years.
Something about that fabric roll doesn't sit right with me. And what did you do after you found Miss Pommel?
Well, I had to make sure she didn't try to get away, so I stayed on the catwalk and called out to my stage manager standing below to cancel the play and call for the police. They arrived relatively quickly and arrested Miss Pommel right where I found her.
But how did she respond to you? You must have said something to her when you walked up there, right?
We didn't actually say a word to each other.
Huh?
Miss Pommel just started crying. A lot. I felt bad for her, but I was certain she was the one who murdered Overall Concept. So instead of asking her anything, I just kept watch and let her be until the police arrived.
A classic case of crocodile tears to garner sympathy. It's what any criminal would
Just
do to
hearing
make themselves
Bluebird
appear
say
innocent.
crocodile.
Your directing skills
Just
must
makes
have
me wanna
helped you make
punch
that
his guts.
flawless judgment. Good on you, witness.
Thanks. Although I have to give her credit, she sure made them look real.
That's because they were real. She had just lost a friend, and the first thing you assume is that she's the one who murdered him? I'd be upset too, if I were in her horseshoes.
As you can see, this witness has given a remarkably solid testimony. I do hope you'll spare us all any further embarrassment, human.
A solid testimony? Well, wait until you see the crack in it, as I'm about to split it wide open.
Any closing remarks, witness?
As much as I hate to believe it, Miss Pommel must have been the one who killed him.
This is a long cross-examination proceeding, you know.
Are you absolutely sure about that last part, witness?
Yes, nothing else was out of place.
Well, if you ask me, that's far from true.
What? Are you calling me a liar?
Not necessarily. It could be that you simply failed to take something into account.
I'm sorry?
He failed to take something into account, you say? Humor me then. What is it you claim the witness did not give proper consideration?
That would, of course, be this fabric roll.
The fabric roll?
Mr. Playwright, when you saw Coco and Overall run by, were either of them holding anything?
If they had been, I would have mentioned that in my testimony. I'm not in the habit of making such a simple mistake as that.
In that case, how does the prosecution intend to account for this?
Stop talking in riddles, defense. What is it that you're trying to say?
Playwright has stated that he did not see Miss Pommel or the victim holding the fabric roll during the chase. We've also established that no one else went up or down the catwalk from the time the second act started to when Playwright ascended to the catwalk after the murder.
Right.
The testimonies of both Playwright and the stage hooves confirm this. If this is true, then where in the world did the fabric roll come from?
That's what I'm saying.
That's right.
Where? Where did it come from?
Nice one, Phoenix.
Boom.
First contradiction of the day. Now, let's start turning this case.
Objection! Huh. Is that all you've got, feeble lawyer?
Of course, it's not going to go down that easy, and I've not
This
my
is a
phone.
serious contradiction.
I have to agree with the defense here. How could the fabric roll end up on top of the catwalk if neither of the parties that went up there were carrying anything?
Exactly.
I believe I have an explanation, Your Honor.
Oh, go on then,
Please,
Blue.
go right ahead.
Witness, when you saw the victim being chased by Miss Pommel, how far ahead was he?
Well, he'd already started climbing up the catwalk, so pretty far. If I had looked a second later, I probably would have missed him entirely.
And there you have it.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Then allow me to explain in a manner that even a commoner such as yourself can follow. The fabric roll was brought up to the catwalk by overall concept. Since he was ahead of Miss Pommel, and was already partly up the stairs to the catwalk by the time the witness took a glance at them, it would make perfect sense as to why he would miss this detail.
That does seem to explain it. I imagine it would be rather difficult to see something like that given what was going on, especially in the dark.
I couldn't agree more, Your Honor.
Well, there goes that contradiction. Now what?
Don't give up yet, Phoenix.
Twilight?
I think we still have some room to maneuver. There's something that Blue Blood hasn't established yet that demands an explanation.
You're right. Good thinking, Twilight. Prosecutor Blue Blood.
Prince, please.
Prince Blue Blood. There's still something vital.
I'm
to
like
this case
Phoenix
that
in
we've
this
yet to
case now.
establish.
And that would be...
A clear motive. It's been mentioned before that the victim and the defendant were very close friends. What makes you think that my client, of all ponies, would want to kill him?
Oh, you really want to know? I'm afraid you'll regret asking that question, human lawyer. Your Honor,
Yes, Prince Blueblood?
the prosecution would like to call the defendant herself to the stand.
Objection! What are you planning to have her testify about?
Don't worry, it's nothing she'll need to plead the fifth for. All she needs to do is tell us about her living situation.
What? How is that relevant to this case?
Prince Blueblood, I too failed to see how the defendant's living situation could possibly be of any use to us.
If you'll allow me to present this testimony, Your Honor, I guarantee I will be able to establish its relevance to the case at hand. Unless, of course, the defense has so little faith in his own client that he's frightened he'll lose if she testifies.
What? How dare...
If that's the case, I can request that this trial be brought to a swift resolution if you'd like. The prosecution has already made it abundantly clear that the defendant is the only one who had the opportunity to murder the victim. These extra bits of testimony and evidence will only serve to chip away at your fragile ego.
he has even more evidence. If we could see that, then perhaps we could use it to turn this trial around. But first, we're gonna have to get through this testimony.
Well, Mr. Wright, do you wish to have your client testify? It could be very harmful to your case if Prince Blueblood can establish the relevance he is claiming.
Do note that should you choose not to have her testify, I will call for a ruling. This trial will end here and now.
Phoenix, what do we do? If we don't
What
let Coco
was
testify,
that
we're gonna lose
face?
this trial.
Well then, we'll just have to allow it. It's not like we have much choice.
But what if she says something that makes things even worse for us? We can't afford to take any more damage to our case.
I know it's risky, but Blueblood said he still had some more evidence against Coco. If we can force it out of him, we should still be able to save her. The defense agrees to the prosecution's request, Your Honor. Let's hear the defendant's testimony.
My legs are hurting.
You've dug your own grave, human attorney.
Very well. Let the defendant take the stand.
Okay, there we go.
Please state your name and occupation for the record. Defendant, quit your useless pouting and state your name and occupation.
Don't you dare yell at my friend, you pompous jerk!
Order! Order in the court! Will the pony in the audience please refrain
Go on,
from
Rarity.
screaming at the prosecution?
Rarity, now's not the time.
My name is Coco Pomel, and I'm, or I guess, was the assistant costume designer at Bridalway Theater.
Now then, please testify about your current living arrangements in as much detail as you can manage.
Okay.
Poor Coco. I hope this isn't going to be too much for her.
Friendship with overall.
Ever since I started living on my own, I've been staying at various hotels across Manhattan. I've never been that wealthy, so that was all I could manage until I met Overall. He took me under his wing as an apprentice, and even offered to let me live with him in his apartment. I brought as much joy to him as he did to me, it seems. I don't know what I'm going to do now that he's gone.
What a tragic story. I think I might be tearing up.
Don't be fooled, Your Honor. This is merely her psychological manipulation at work. She may appear to be grieving on the outside, but on the inside, she's deviously dancing in delight.
Objection! Your Honor, this is slander!
Objection sustained. Prince Blueblood, I will not allow comments like that in my court.
You commoners and your bleeding hearts.
Now, Mr. Wright.
Speak for yourself, you
cross-examine the
pompous.
witness.
You didn't mention any of this to me yesterday. I wonder why not. No use thinking about it now. I just have to focus on how to get Coco out of this.
Ever since I started living on my own, I've been staying at various hotels across Manhattan.
Hold it! You've never had a place to call your own.
No, everything I've ever had I owed to those who were there to support me. Rarity, Overall, my parents, and even my old mentor.
Your old mentor. Is this the pony we're talking about yesterday? The one who always said it's every pony for themselves in the big city.
Yes, her. I quit being her assistant several months ago and took up a job at the theater, thanks to Rarity.
You don't sound too happy about that.
Oh no, of course I'm grateful to Rarity for giving me such a huge opportunity.
But what?
It doesn't change the fact that I needed her to do it for me. Just once in my life, I'd like to achieve something that had been delivered to me on a silver platter. Something that I at least played some sort of major role in.
I see. Then perhaps you...
Objection! I grow weary of your stalling tactics, human. You are her attorney, not her therapist. You're here to cross-examine the defendant, so I suggest you get on with it.
I wonder how much effort it takes him to be that unpleasant.
Objection sustained. Please continue with the cross-examination, Mr. Wright.
I've never been that wealthy, so that was all I could manage until I met Overall.
Hold it! Did you really have so little money that you could barely afford a place to live?
Yes, especially after I quit being an assistant to my mentor. She always made enough for both of us with the designs that she sold.
What was that she was about to say?
What?
And what about when you became an assistant costume designer at Bridalway? Did you make more money then?
No, I was only an assistant, and an apprentice at that. The director, playwright, didn't trust my skills enough to give me any work worth paying much for. If it wasn't for Overall, I'm sure I would have had to quit that job for a better paying one elsewhere.
So, Overall was able to support you and himself?
Yes, he was paid handsomely as the head costume designer of the biggest theater in Equestria. Not only that, but his designs fetched pretty high prices outside the theater as well.
Was he really that well known?
Of course he was.
How did he get to be that famous?
Well, I can only tell you what I heard from him, but apparently, after his parents passed away a couple of years ago, he fell into a rather deep depression. They were his only family, and his only source of encouragement, you see. He thought about giving up on his dream to become a designer. However, he soon realized he'd be betraying his parents' hopes for him if he did, and so he poured himself into his work. He slaved day and night to create design after design, and finally, he decided to enter a contest, one that would essentially guarantee a successful career in design, should he win. And he did. Afterwards, his designs became well known all across Equestria, and he has since worked at Bridalway Theater as his head costume designer.
Wow.
Touching story.
Wow. Overall must have been one strong stallion to not only overcome his parents' deaths, but also achieve his lifelong dream.
He was. If only he hadn't passed away himself, then maybe he could have helped me.
Well, maybe if you didn't kill him, he could have done so. You've no one to blame but yourself.
Oh, I want to punch him so bad. I want to absolutely punch him.
Don't worry, Coco. I'm gonna get you out of this.
I want to punch Bluebird so bad.
And even offered to let me live with him in his apartment.
Yes.
Coco, how come you didn't tell me about any of this yesterday?
What do you mean?
Yesterday in the detention center, when I asked you about your relationship with Overall Concept, this is what you said to me.
Oh, it's nothing too serious, if that's what you're thinking. We were just good friends who liked working together. He's even teaching me how to design better so I could one day make a design of my own for another play.
At the time, I took that to mean you were nothing more than coworkers. Was I wrong when I made that assumption? Coco? Coco!
What?
Did you purposely mislead me into believing you two were connected by nothing more than your work?
Maybe.
Why?
Because I was afraid that you wouldn't take my case otherwise.
What? Well, why would you think that? Uh-oh. I don't like the sound of that. What in the world is Coco hiding from me?
Okay, guys. I decided to take a early break. Stop the video in about 51 minutes. Because due to my dad coming into the room, it's his bedroom anyways. So yeah. So I'm going to take an early break. and we'll continue with the rest of the video later on. So yeah, so stay tuned for that. So yeah, it will be in the night period. As you can see out there, it's kind of daylight out. It's about 7:45 now, so I will resume with the video at roughly 11:30 or 12. So yeah, during the night. So see you then. Okay. Alright. And we are back to watch the rest of this trial. The time is now 1:45. So over midnight that I am watching this. So yeah, and I am here in a different room, in a different bedroom. I am in my sister's room because she told me that I can sleep in here for the night as long as I don't make a mess. And so far, no mess. So, yeah. So I am here with some snacks. I've got myself a Lucozade bottle, 2 chocolate bars, a Whisper, and a twirl, and 2 packets of Frazzles. So yeah, there we go. So we're on 51 minutes and 52 seconds. We're on to the we're on to the cross examination of Coco Parmel, of her testimony. So yeah, and Prince Douchebag is you know, as the prosecution is having his say, and his saying is completely, he's a dick. He's a dick, basically. So yeah. Anyways, we are here, and we're gonna react to the rest of this. In 51 minutes and 52 seconds, where we last left off, let's resume with the rest of the video in 3, 2, 1, go.
I brought as much joy to him as he did to me, it seems. I don't know what I'm going to do now that he's gone.
Hold it! That's what every pony keeps saying. That you two seem to get along so well. First Playwright, and then even Rarity said that you told her how happy overall made you feel in your letters to her.
Yeah, we were really great friends. Everyone in the theater knew that.
And that's exactly why I'm so puzzled.
Okay, stop then for a
What do
second.
you mean?
You just said that you were afraid I wouldn't take your case if I knew the truth about your living arrangements prior to today. Coco, you must have known that I have heard nothing but positive comments about your relationship with the victim from those who knew you both. So why would you think I would hesitate if I knew you two were living together?
Oh, come now, attorney. The answer is so obvious, I'm surprised it's taken you this long to realize it.
If you know the reason, why not just say so already? Weren't you trying to establish some sort of motive with this testimony? Let's hear it then.
Very well. I would like the court to take a look at this.
What is this, Prince Blueblood?
It's a document that recognizes both Coco Pamel and Overall Concept as domestic partners.
They
The
were
two
partners.
entered into this partnership not long after they began living together.
And how is that relevant?
My attorney, are you not aware of one of the primary aspects of a domestic partnership?
Sorry. It's, not my area of expertise, sadly.
And you call yourself a lawyer? What a joke. Very
Sadly.
well, I shall explain. If a partner passes away
Poor
intestate,
Phoenix.
that's without leaving behind a will for you uninformed commoners, when they are in a domestic partnership, as Mr. Concept did, their partner will receive all of their assets.
Oh. Oh, no!
Oh no.
Yes! Now you finally get it! That is why this poor, underpaid assistant costume designer murdered one of the most wealthy and well-known designers in Equestria to claim his assets for herself.
Order! Order in the court! I must admit, that certainly sounds like an incredibly plausible motive for murder.
Of course it is, Your Honor, because it's the truth.
Coco, why did you hide this from me? How am I supposed to recover from this?
Phoenix, what are we supposed to do now? This motive, it's almost too perfect.
I don't know. And it definitely didn't help that Coco kept this hidden from us all this time. I had no way to prepare for this.
Well, you have to say something. Fight back. Otherwise, Coco will be found guilty.
Objection! The defendant was being supported very well by the victim. She didn't need to steal his money.
Objection! Did I ever say she was after his money specifically?
You didn't.
What do you mean?
Recall what I said, attorney. She would inherit all of Overall Concept's assets. Assets, attorney. Like, for example, all of his
Fabrics and designs. Yeah, not money. No.
Of course, the money she would inherit would be a nice bonus, and no doubt added fuel to the fire, but what Coco Pamel was really after were the victim's designs.
Yeah.
Why? Why would she need those?
During our investigation, we discovered that Miss Pamel had entered a fashion competition. The very same competition the victim himself entered a couple years ago.
No.
Just to clarify exactly what this contest is, it's a fashion competition where the winner receives the honor of being recognized by the most well-known designers in the industry. While not particularly large, it is very prestigious, needing several background checks to even enter. Winning this contest is a big boost to one's career, as you can imagine.
What is it, Twilight?
I don't know. Something about that strikes me as important. I just can't put my hoof on it.
It goes without saying that a contest such as this would draw in several other keen fashion designers looking to rise to the top. With this much competition stacked against her, Miss Pamel was not confident enough in her abilities to win the contest.
And what brought you to that conclusion?
The defendant herself admitted as much. When we interrogated her about the contest, she told us that she did not feel confident about her chances of winning.
Then surely Overall would have helped Miss Pamel in making designs, or at least guided her.
Possibly. However, it's against the rules to seek direct help from some pony who has already won the contest. It's a preventative measure against copying previous victors' work with minor alterations.
But she was learning from him. I'm sure Miss Pamel had the ability to do just fine in the contest.
Her actual level of competence is irrelevant. What matters is how she felt about her prospects of winning. Besides, I'm not finished, attorney.
What do you mean?
There's a special fabric the victim was making, as mentioned earlier by the previous witness. He was creating this fabric in secrecy for an upcoming play.
So why is this special fabric important in this case?
You should have connected the dots by now. Considering that Miss Pommel and Mr. Concept lived together for a number of months, she naturally would know about this special fabric. And just like you said, Miss Pommel was learning from him, so this was to her advantage.
You're really accusing Miss Pommel of cheating in this contest?
Cheating in the contest and betraying Overall Concept's trust.
And that's why...
Looks like you finally realized it. That is exactly why the defendant murdered Overall Concept. It was her chance at stealing his designs and passing them off as her own.
Twilight, if you have something to say, then by all means say it.
On the night of the murder, the victim was working on that very fabric. This, too, we heard from Mr. Playwright. That was probably what set the defendant off. Upon seeing the fabric, she made up her mind, once and for all, to murder the victim. She attacked him in the dressing room, but failed to land a strike. The victim fled out of the room with a fabric roll in his mouth, likely taken for the purposes of self-defense, with Miss Pommel hot on his trail. The two were spotted by Mr. Playwright as they made their way up the stairs to the catwalk. Finally, as Overall Concept reached the top, he tripped, dropping the fabric roll. The defendant caught up to him, grabbed the roll, and proceeded to knock him unconscious. Afterwards, she wrapped the rope that was laying on the catwalk around the victim's neck and threw him over the edge of the rail, finally killing him.
Well,
if it weren't for Mr. Playwright immediately coming up the catwalk,
that's a statement I can't disagree.
She may have gotten away with it, but she can't hide from
But
her
knowing
crime,
Phoenix,
can she, Mr. Wright? And to think, this incredibly selfless stallion was planning on proposing to Coco, and she stole his life away because of her own selfish desires.
What?
Propose?
Prince Blueblood? What do you
they,
mean?
he was going to propose.
During our inquiries regarding Overall Concept and Miss Pommel's relationship, many ponies employed at Bridalway Theater commented on how much he cared about her. Apparently, he often said that being together with her made him even happier than when his parents were still alive. They mentioned that he was going to propose next week, after another play. He even ordered this custom ring to give to her. I have it right here, Your Honor. The police found it while they were investigating his apartment.
Overall, but was constantly to
He was going to propose to me?
This shows just how cruel you really are. You took advantage of an innocent stallion's kindness for your own selfish gains, and killed him in the process.
This has turned
Mayors
really
like
sad
you
now.
corrupting
Oh my
our
god.
good-natured society of Equestria. It's despicable. Don't you agree, ponies of the gallery?
How could she do something like that?
After everything that kind stallion did for her.
I never thought ponies could be so evil.
Order! Order in the court! My word! Could someone who looks so adorable really be so cruel?
Looks are very deceiving. And what better example of that than this heartless, soulless excuse of a mare?
How dare you spew such poisonous lies! Coco would never do that to a stallion who cared about her. Why, I ought to come over there and tear your cold little heart out for that.
Whoever that is out there, please refrain from shouting, or else you will be removed from the court!
Rarity, I get that you don't like this guy, but I need you to keep quiet if I'm going to properly help Coco.
Well,
I don't blame
Defense,
Rarity though. I don't
anything
blame
you
her.
want to say to counter my claims? Or have you
But
decided
yeah,
that
for
you've
this
suffered
situation.
enough humiliation?
Come on. There's gotta be something I can say to this. But he's absolutely tarnished Coco's image to the rest of the court. Where am I even supposed to begin this uphill battle?
It seems as if the defense has no further objections. In that case, I think it's about time for me to pass my verdict. Any closing remarks, Prince Blueblood?
I warned you, human attorney.
No, there's a
You
last
should have
minute
saved
objection.
yourself
There's a
from
last
putting on
minute.
this
It's
pathetic
always a last
display
minute.
when you had the chance.
Do not put the gravel
Your Honor,
down.
Please proceed.
No! I can't let it end like this!
Very
Nope.
well. This court
No.
finds the
No.
defendant, Coco Pamel,
Objection!
Twilight.
who was that?
That was Twilight. Boom.
It was me, Your Honor.
Twilight?
Prosecutor Blueblood, I want you to clarify something for me.
Prince,
Blueblood, you said Coco saw a special fabric on the night of the murder, and that's what prompted her to go through with
Like,
a
nope.
plan to
Blue
kill
blood.
Overall.
Nope. Screw your prince
Excuse
shit.
me? You are to address me as...
Is that what you're claiming or not?
Ah, yes, that is what I am claiming. What of it?
Can you please show us the fabric you're talking about?
Surely you must have seen it for yourselves. It was left sitting in the dressing room. But if you insist on seeing it again, I had it brought into court today. Here it is. Are you happy?
Huh! Just as I had thought.
What is that supposed to mean?
I believe Mr. Wright can answer that for me.
The animation on this
Thanks,
episode is
Twilight.
really
What she
brilliant.
means, Prince Blueblood, is that
Props
the
to you
fabric
guys
presented
for the
to
animation.
court is not the special fabric that Overall made.
What? No, it has to be. Playwright confirmed it when we asked him. This fabric is what Overall was commissioned to make for the theater.
Let me rephrase my response. True, that is indeed the special fabric Overall was working on for the theater that night. However, the fabric that you presented is currently incomplete!
What?
An incomplete fabric, which doesn't really
Order! Order!
go with
Prince
the
Blueblood, what is the
examination.
meaning of this? I find it hard to
Yes.
believe that the defendant would have murdered the victim
Quiver.
for a roll of
Quiver.
incomplete fabric.
Then that's it. She must not have known it was incomplete.
Objection! How is that possible? She and the victim not only worked together, but they lived together.
lived.
There's no way she wouldn't have known what the fabric was supposed to look like.
Well, maybe she thought she could finish the fabric on her own.
Okay, let's test that theory then, shall we? Mr. Playwright,
Yes?
I recall you said something in your testimony earlier regarding the fabric Overall was working on that night.
He came on stage briefly to discuss something with me, and then he left right before the intermission ended. He said he and his assistant had to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric and paint.
If you don't mind me asking, what exactly was this paint?
Fluorescent paint. The fabric was supposed to be covered in both that paint and a touch of glitter.
And
Forensic.
what does that prove? Miss Pamel would have known that. You said so yourself.
It's not about whether or not she would have known about it, but whether or not she could gain access to
Access to it.
What do you mean? She was going to inherit all of Overall's assets. The fluorescent paint and glitter would have been included in that as well.
True. She would have inherited whatever Overall had left. What about after she ran out?
What?
This fabric was meant to be used in the next play at Bridalway Theater. Naturally, that means Coco would have had to make more if she intended on using it in the contest. And making more fabric means buying more
Buy
paint.
more paint.
And how
Yes.
is that an issue? She would have inherited all of Overall's money. Buying a few cans of paint would have been nothing.
Not this paint, I'm afraid.
Explain yourself.
Yesterday,
Not the
when
right
we
paint,
were
though.
investigating the theater, Rarity, one of the most fashion-forward ponies in Equestria, had a few things to say about this fluorescent paint.
Fluorescent paint? Such a thing exists? Where can I get this paint? It might help with my business. I still wonder where he got this paint. It must have been awfully expensive, especially since he used so much of it.
Expensive. Expensive.
If Rarity hadn't even heard of the paint, let alone considered it to be cheap, then I doubt this paint is anywhere near as accessible or affordable as regular paint. Even if Coco were able to find and buy some, do you really think she'd be able to do so before the contest deadline? Or spend that much of her newly earned money on a chance that the fabric would be good enough to win a contest? If she lost, she'd have a very hard time making that money back.
Objection! If you look at the fabric by itself, it's already relatively nice to look at, even without all the bells and whistles the victim added to it. She could have just entered the base fabric itself into the contest.
Maybe so. But you can't deny that this evidence blows a hole in your theory that Coco killed overall for this fabric.
Mr. Wright has a point, Prince Blueblood. The motive you proposed isn't very persuasive given this new information. Do you have anything else against the defendant that proves she committed this crime?
Of course, Your Honor. I have yet to produce the most damaging piece of evidence to this court.
Oh my
Is
god.
that so?
So, we're finally going to see what he was talking about earlier.
Indeed, Your Honor. And I'll have Playwright explain what I mean.
Huh? Me?
Witness.
Wait,
when you saw
Playwright?
Miss Pamela on the catwalk that night, did you notice anything odd about her?
Well, as I said earlier, she seemed rather dazed.
And what about her hooves? Did you notice anything in particular about them?
Oh, that's right!
What is it, witness?
Miss Pommel's forehooves. When I discovered her on top of the catwalk, they were covered in glitter.
What?
What?
The defendant's forehooves were covered in glitter? What does this mean?
Allow me to explain, Your Honor. Recall that Miss Pamel and Mr. Concept were working in the dressing room prior to the crime. During the course of their work, the defendant must have gotten her hooves covered in glitter.
Okay.
Oh, so the glitter marks on the fabric roll?
Precisely, Your Honor. They were left behind by Miss
Yeah,
Pamel.
hit him
She
and
used it to hit
there'll
the
be
victim.
glitter all over them.
No.
It would
This
come
can't
naturally,
be.
yeah.
And now the prosecution would like to submit our final piece of evidence. The noose.
The noose itself?
The court is no doubt aware of the fact that this is the noose used to hang the victim to death. Though I have yet to reveal a crucial detail concerning this noose. We have discovered that, just like the fabric roll, there are traces of glitter on it.
Traces of glitter.
Considering that there is only one conscious pony on the catwalk that could have committed the crime, the only logical inference is that Miss Pamel is the culprit. But knowing that she had glitter left on her hooves, and that there was glitter on both the fabric roll and the noose, it has become crystal clear that Miss Pamel was the one who knocked the victim out, wrapped the noose around his neck, and killed him.
That seems to be very decisive evidence. The one who touched the rope was Miss Pamel herself.
Pelican news the murder weapon was using no rolled neck before for the catwalk.
Of course. There's no other way it could be any pony else. I presume a guilty verdict is in order, Your Honor?
Wait.
Seemed that way.
Hold on. No, it doesn't.
What about the motive? It's unlikely that Coco would have killed for a fabric that she had no reliable way of reproducing.
You're still obsessing over that? Perhaps she merely killed him for his other designs, or maybe just his money. The defendant has a laundry list of potential motives, attorney. That fact doesn't disappear by virtue of you pointing out that the completed version of the fabric was not at the theater that night, you know. Besides, who can say for certain what was going through that demented pony's head that night? For all we know, the defendant may have a motive beyond our wildest imaginations. What matters, though, is that all of the evidence points to her as the one responsible for this crime. The glitter on her hooves, the fabric roll, the noose itself, and being found at the scene with no chance that any pony else had slipped away unnoticed.
Nah, there has to be more.
All of it points to one simple conclusion. Coco Pamel murdered overall concept in cold blood.
Order! Order in the court! Mr. Wright,
Yes, Your Honor.
Prince Blueblood has presented a very convincing case, even if the motive is somewhat unclear at the moment. I'm afraid if you have nothing further to add, then I will have no choice but to end the trial. This is your last chance, Mr. Wright. Do you have anything else to present to this court to counter the prosecution's claims?
Of course he doesn't. If he did, he would have presented it a long time ago.
This is it. If I mess up here, the trial's over. I
Here we
need to
go, the
present
black
something
screen
that casts
moment,
significant
sudden
doubt
death.
over Blueblood's claims. I believe he may have unintentionally given me just the hint I needed. Your Honor, I do indeed have something to present to the court at this time.
What? How could you possibly?
Now, Prince Blueblood. Save your surprise for after you've seen what it is Mr. Wright has to present. Mr. Wright, please present this piece of evidence to the court.
Yes, Your Honor. Take that!
Is that a torn piece of fabric?
Really? That's it?
That's
That's
fluorescent.
your big piece of evidence?
Perhaps not in terms of its physical size, but certainly in the hole it'll create in your argument.
Cease your smug little remarks and explain, human.
You're the last pony I want to hear that from, Blueblood. Very well.
Same.
We
Same.
found this ripped piece of fabric during our investigation of the stage. It was right below the center of the catwalk.
I fail to understand how this relates to anything discussed thus far.
Well, how about we let the one who requested the fabric explain it to us then?
Huh? Me?
Playwright, you were the one who asked Overall Concept to make this fabric, correct?
Yes, we needed it for our next play.
For your next play, meaning none of the costumes for the play on the night of the murder used this fabric?
That is correct.
Where are you going with this, Mr. Wright?
Yeah,
It's
where
simple,
are you
Your
going?
Honor. If the fabric wasn't being used on the night of the crime, then why did we find a piece of it on the stage afterwards?
Afterwards. Yeah, because it was lying
That
there.
piece of fabric could have found its way there at any point. It's impossible for you to prove when exactly it wound up there.
Objection! I may not be able to prove
The
exact
roll,
time it ended up on stage.
glitter,
I can definitely prove it was after the play's
forensic, piece of forensic on the floor.
How?
Recall Playwright's testimony for a moment. He had this to say about what was happening on stage during the 15-minute
15-minute
intermission.
right, yes.
Well, they had to completely clear the stage of all the props, as well as any debris that would cause problems for the actors on stage. Mainly tripping hazards.
Tripping hazards. Any debris.
The stage hoops had to clear the stage. No!
If this piece of fabric had been on stage before intermission, it would have been cleared off by the time the second act had begun.
Yes.
After all, there's no way Playwright would have allowed for anything less. Am I right, witness?
Absolutely. It's out of the question that I would have let the play continue if something like this was still on stage. I mean, it could have distracted the audience or ruined the concentration of one of the performers.
Yep.
So you see, Prince Blueblood, there's no way this piece of fabric was on the stage before the intermission.
Objection!
It was
The
after.
victim came on stage during the intermission to talk to Playwright about the fabric. It's possible he could have accidentally dropped that piece on the stage then, and it simply went unnoticed because the stage had already been cleaned.
Objection! Sorry, but that's also impossible.
Why's that?
Let's go back to Playwright's testimony one more time.
He came on stage briefly to discuss something with me, and then he left right before the intermission ended. He said he and his assistant had to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric and paint.
If you examine this fabric closely, you'll notice that it's covered in glitter. Not only that, but if we were to turn off the lights in this courtroom, I'm sure you'll realize that it's also covered in fluorescent paint.
Fluorescent paint.
However, according to Playwright, Overall didn't start covering his fabric in paint until after he had come on stage.
Yep. Yep.
Then, what does this mean, Mr. Wright?
This piece of fabric proves two things. The first is that someone brought it
Well,
up to
simple.
the catwalk
She didn't
during
do
the
it.
second act of the play.
The catwalk?
And what ridiculous train of logic are we meant to board to arrive at that conclusion?
Well, there's simply no other way for it to have landed on the stage, right? No one could have brought it to the stage directly without being seen. So the only conceivable option must be that it came from above.
Fine. And what's the second thing that piece of fabric supposedly proves?
Isn't it obvious? It proves that at the theater that night, there existed at least one sheet of overall special fabric that had been completed.
That's absurd.
But how is that possible? I thought the police only found one sheet of the fabric, and it was the incomplete version.
Which can only mean that the other sheet was stolen from the theater that night. A third party must have escaped with it.
Objection! You are either desperate beyond belief or have gone completely insane, human attorney. There's no way a third party could exist.
Well then, why don't you explain what this means then? This piece of fabric clearly proves that the completed fabric was there at the theater that night. So why didn't the police find it?
Simple. The defendant had hidden it prior to the crime. She must have been planning to steal the one sheet of fabric all along. When Overall Concepts saw that it was missing,
Yeah, but
that's when
if
Coco
she
attacked
was
him.
stealing it,
Suspect
then
she hid it
how
in a
come she
spot
would
where
like
none of us could even
forget
find
that
it.
one
Which
piece
is
of
why it is still
fabric
missing
that was
even
on
now.
the catwalk?
That's impossible. The
She wouldn't
discovery
leave
of
any
the piece of
traces
fabric on
behind.
stage proves that it was out in the open somewhere. The stage was cleared in preparation for Act 2. The fabric must have been taken either on or above the stage during the second act of the play. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this piece with us today. In fact, Playwright, I need you to clarify something for me.
And what would that be?
After the crime occurred, was there someone watching the stage at all times?
Yes, there would always be some pony either on or watching the stage. The fabric would have been noticed if it was brought on stage at any given moment.
That settles it then. This indicates that the fabric had to have gone up the catwalk once the second act started, which means Coco couldn't have hidden the fabric beforehand. It must have gotten torn somehow, and a piece fell to the stage below.
Objection! You've forgotten that if some pony went up that catwalk with that fabric during the second act, they would have been spotted holding it by Playwright or the stage hoops on the right wing of the stage. If
True.
that fabric glows in the dark, then it should have been almost impossible to miss. But none of the theater staff have said anything about seeing someone carrying a glowing
it wasn't
sheet
dark
of
up there,
fabric
wasn't
up
it?
the catwalk.
Or was it?
He's right.
Forgot.
Even if you take the stage hoops out of the picture, Playwright definitely would have noticed if the victim had been carrying that fabric. Then I'll propose another theory.
Another theory?
Playwright said in his testimony he only got a small glimpse of Overall running up the stairs.
Correct. And what of it?
Well, what if there was some pony ahead of Overall? Then Playwright wouldn't have been able to see them, meaning a third party could have been involved from the start.
Ahead of Overall.
Oh please, like that's even possible.
The question is,
What do you
did
mean?
Playwright
If this third pony
see the
exists,
pony in
then how
front?
did Miss Pamel not see them? If she was following Mr. Concept the entire time, there's no way the defendant would have missed this third pony escaping. At the very least, she should have seen them on the catwalk. Yet has she mentioned such a thing? No. So, how do you explain that, attorney?
Actually, it's quite simple.
Simple? This should be good.
When I spoke to Miss Pamel, she told me that she had been suffering from memory loss and headaches.
She
I
did,
believe
yes.
It's possible that during the crime, she was knocked unconscious by this third party, and the headaches and memory loss was the side effect from her being knocked unconscious.
Do you really expect me to believe the nonsense
Forgot
you're
about the
spouting?
memory loss thing. Yes,
You do realize that you're speaking for the defendant, right?
so if there was
She's
another
obviously
one
lying to
in
save her
front
own
of
claim.
overall,
Even if she were hit on the head,
she
by
wouldn't
the
have.
police
She wouldn't have
crews,
remembered.
What makes you think that
But
this
before
incident
she
happened that night and
lost
not
it.
the day before? And what kind of weapon would this
Ah.
mystery third party have used to knock her out? I demand you show evidence that she was struck on the head the night of the murder.
Gladly. Here it is. Take that!
The fabric roll?
And how does this prove anything?
Before the trial started, we noticed that there was some glitter stuck in her mane. I believe this is the result of being struck by the fabric roll.
How in Equestria would that result in glitter getting stuck in her mane? Splinters and wood chips, maybe, but certainly not glitter.
Well, as you pointed out, there are traces of glitter on the roll. What if some of it ended up in Coco's mane as a result of getting hit with it?
Preposterous. The glitter on that roll came from when the defendant held her in her hooves to attack the victim.
Can you prove that that's the exact scenario that caused the glitter to end up on the roll?
Well, no. But how else could it have gotten there?
Let's stop and think about where this roll came from. The dressing room. I think it's very likely that the roll could have gotten covered in glitter there.
What do you mean, Mr. Wright?
Here's what I think. Coco and Overall were working in the dressing room prior to the crime.
Yeah.
During the course of their work, they must have scattered glitter around the table, where this roll may have been sitting. In fact, yesterday while I investigated the dressing room, I found a can of glitter that clearly showed signs of spillage, sitting right next to the other roll of fabric. After this third party stole the sheet of fabric, they were spotted and ran off. Overall must have grabbed the nearby fabric roll as he gave chase, likely hoping to use it to stop the thief. However, once he reached the top of the catwalk, he tripped and dropped the roll. The thief took advantage of this and used the roll to knock out both Overall and Coco, who had followed her teacher up the catwalk in pursuit of the thief.
That sounds absolutely ludicrous.
Can you deny the possibility?
With ease. First off, even if this third party managed to make it all the way up to the catwalk without being spotted by Playwright, how would they have managed to get down without being seen by the stage hooves in the left wing?
Yeah.
Mention, if the fabric roll left glitter in Coco's mane, then why didn't it also leave glitter in Overall's mane when he was knocked unconscious?
Well, you see that...
Yeah, that makes a valid point.
You see, Mr. Wright? Your theory makes absolutely
If
no
glitter,
sense.
if glitter was
It's
in
inconceivable that a
Coco's
third party
mane,
could
then
exist, because
how would
there's
it get
no way
over
they could have
into
escaped without being spotted
overalls?
by Playwright or the stage hooves.
from the supposed thief.
How am I supposed to prove that the
And
third
who is
party
this
was
thief?
able to get away when the left side of the stage was being watched? And I don't even know where to begin with Overall's mane.
Excuse me, if I may interject.
Is there something on your mind, witness?
Yes, I'd like to make a confession, Your Honor.
A confession?
I got
I'd like to
another
amend my statement
confession to
regarding when I went
make.
up to the catwalk. I actually didn't go up immediately.
What?
What?
Huh?
Witness, what are you doing?
Please, explain what you mean.
It's as I say, Your Honor. I did not go up to the catwalk immediately after seeing the hanging. Before I went up to investigate, I called over my stage hooves from the right wing and my actors from the stage. I ordered them to attend to the panicking audience and try to calm them down. And I asked my stage manager to inform the police of what happened. After a good 5 minutes of giving my staff instructions, that was when I decided to go up to the catwalk.
Witness! Why didn't you share this time discrepancy earlier? This is crucial information!
Didn't put it
It's not
towards
as if I
the
intentionally wanted
testimony.
to withhold this information. Prince Blueblood told me not to share it because he said it was irrelevant information.
What? Why, you?
View animation.
Blueblood, you knew about this information?
You devious blue
I
blood
did, Your
pony.
Honor. But I did not believe it to be important enough to address.
Yeah, right. You withheld this information because you knew it was detrimental to your case.
To think I actually blamed Miss Pommel for this heinous crime. But now it's possible that she's innocent, isn't it? I'll make sure to tell everything that I know from this point on. I promise.
As much as I would have appreciated it if you did that from the beginning, I am glad that you are willing to tell us everything this time.
Many thanks, Your Honor.
Witness, you ruined my perfect case.
After hearing what could be the truth, this is nowhere near perfection. And I should know. I've been striving for it all my life, only to come up short every time. But at least I can acknowledge that I can get as close to it as possible.
This information could be just what I need to move forward. Your Honor, we now know that there was no one near the left side of the catwalk after the murder, and that there was a 5-minute gap between the hanging and playwright going up the catwalk. The possibility of a third party being involved is undeniable.
Yes, I do believe
Yes.
this to be the case as well, Mr.
What happened
Wright.
during those 5 minutes?
Objection!
It's vital.
No, there's still a flaw in that claim.
What flaw?
I'll have you know the police interrogated every member of the theater and all 5,000 attendees in the audience. If this pony really escaped with the fabric, then why was their absence not discovered during the course of the investigation?
Well, the thief in question must have been someone who was not a part of the audience or the theater staff.
Oh, really? And how did they get in?
Through here. Take that!
The back door?
Back door
Precisely,
there, I
Your
was
Honor.
about to say, the
They
exit.
must have come through the back door of the theater without purchasing a ticket. I'm willing to bet that's also how they left the theater after they stole the fabric.
Yes.
Stop suggesting that this third party exists. I demand proof, filthy human. Proof! Give me something that truly convinces me that some pony else was here that night.
You should be careful what you wish for, Prince Blueblood.
Please, just show us the evidence already, Mr. Wright. My beard is quivering in anticipation.
My beard.
Here's the proof, Your Honor. Take that!
A picture? Of what?
Take a closer look, and you'll find out.
Traces.
What's this? Are those glowing hoof prints?
Excuse me?
Oh.
Order! Order! What a turn of events! Glowing hoof prints left behind at the crime scene?
It's not just the fact they exist, it's their path that tells a bigger story.
Please explain, Mr. Wright.
The hoof prints start at the dressing room, right where we're proposing that this chase started. The hoof prints then lead up to the catwalk, just like how Playwright described in his eyewitness account of the chase. And
Yes.
finally, they lead down from the right side of the catwalk and out the back door of the theater.
Yes.
This path was not taken by anyone else involved in this crime. The existence of these hoof marks without a doubt proves that a third pony was there that night.
Objection!
But who
What kind
is
of
it?
preposterous game are
Who
you trying
is
to
this
play,
third
human?
pony?
The police did not find any hoof prints of the sort during their
That's the
investigation.
most I'm intrigued
It has
by.
to be false evidence. The court cannot accept this.
My bet is Blue Blood.
Order! Order in the court!
I just want to say that
say!
because he's an absolute dick.
Prince Blueblood! That is an extraordinary accusation! I've known Mr. Wright for years, and I had the misfortune of mistaking him for a crook once before.
You
And
did?
thankfully,
Yeah.
I was proven
You
wrong.
did,
You're
yeah.
going to need some serious evidence to back up your claim if you continue with this assertion. Otherwise, I will hold you in contempt of court.
But Your Honor...
Whoa, that was out of nowhere. The judge really just stood up for me against the prosecution. I'm actually quite flattered.
You see, it's just
I'm
that
impressed too.
the police didn't see these hoof prints during their investigation.
I believe the explanation for that is quite simple. Did the police ever turn off
Yeah,
the lights?
turn off
during
the
their
lights.
investigation?
Of course not. Why would they?
Are you
And
stupid?
there you have it. The reason why the police couldn't see the hoof prints is because the only way to see them is by turning off the
Turn
lights.
off the lights.
In that case, shouldn't the witness have been able to see them when he went up to the catwalk?
Well, why don't we ask him? Playwright, were these hoof prints on the catwalk prior to the second act?
Thinking that?
No, there were no hoof prints to be found before the second act. The catwalk was dark during preparation, so they would have been impossible to miss.
And what about when you went up there after the murder? Did you see them then?
No, I did not.
Then the answer is obvious.
You
The
didn't.
hoof prints were made after the incident, meaning that these glowing hoof prints have no relevance to this case.
Actually, I think they do.
What?
Oh,
Care to explain, witness?
Yes, it's true that I didn't see the fluorescent hoof prints after the murder, but there was a good reason why.
And what would that be?
what?
The safety lights were on.
Safety lights?
Safety
The lights
lights.
hanging above the catwalk. They seemed to be on the
Above.
fence yesterday. That's how we found those hoof prints in the first place.
Yes, there. No, yes.
Did you see that?
See what?
There's something glowing on the floor. Twilight, could you turn off the lights for a second?
Yeah, okay.
There!
Huh? They're hoof prints. And they're glowing.
Impossible.
Oh, right! Yes, we've been meaning to fix that issue, but I'm always getting so caught up in the plays we're performing that I guess I tend to forget about those sort of things. The pulley system isn't in the greatest condition either, which is why we've had to tie the rope to the catwalk instead.
Not exactly the pinnacle of safety, those lights. Especially not with a director like this.
They're usually off during
Yeah,
performances as
valid
well
point.
as during the second act. But when I went up after what had befallen, they were switched on, which means the hoof prints wouldn't have shown up.
What about the rest of the backstage area? Even if you somehow explained why you weren't able to see the glowing hoof prints on the catwalk, why weren't the rest of the hoof prints discovered? If it was dark there, they should have been seen.
That'd be because I turned the backstage lights on as well.
Oh my god,
You
playwright.
see, Prince Blue Blood? These hoof prints could very well be connected to this case.
Then it is clear that these hoof prints belong to Miss Pamel.
What makes you think they belong to her?
She must have gotten her hooves wet with paint from working in the dressing room and chased the victim while her hooves were still wet. He likely turned on the safety lights when he fled so he could see where he was going.
But the prints go down from the right side of the catwalk, and Playwright found Coco standing right above where Overall was hanged. Are you suggesting that she descended from the catwalk and then climbed back up?
She certainly had time to do so. After all, Playwright didn't immediately go up to the catwalk, now did he?
Damn it! Now he's using my own argument against me.
Yeah.
Do you have proof that these prints even belong to Coco?
Process
Yeah.
of elimination, attorney. It couldn't have been any pony else. It certainly wasn't the victim. Otherwise, the trail would have stopped at the catwalk. Not to mention the fact that his hooves don't have any paint on them. And this third party you claim was there would have had no way to get their hooves dirty with the paint. So it could only be Miss Pamel.
And what if there existed a way to prove that those prints could be hers?
Yeah.
I beg your pardon?
How?
I certainly would like to see that, Mr. Wright. Tell me, how do you plan on proving that Miss Pamel couldn't have made those prints?
With this, Your Honor. Take that!
Is that a flashlight?
A flashlight.
Yes, Your Honor. But not just any flashlight. A forensic flashlight. This has the ability to show traces of fluorescent paint without needing to turn off the lights. If there are no traces of paint on her hooves, then that means Coco couldn't have been the one to make those hoof prints.
Yes.
Very well. I permit the use of the flashlight.
Miss Pamel,
Oh, yes?
if I may, I'd like to run this forensic flashlight on your hooves.
Yes, of course.
There we go.
Just as I thought. No
Yep.
traces of fluorescent
Nothing.
paint at all. This means Coco couldn't have been the one to leave those prints behind.
Objection! You do realize she could have just washed her hooves to remove the paint?
Objection!
She didn't. She
Even
didn't.
if she wanted to, she wouldn't have been able to. The defendant had no opportunity to wash them after she was caught by Playwright and arrested.
Yeah.
Are you certain?
Yeah.
Prince
Even if she,
Blood?
Even if she did,
Your Honor,
the
allow
flashlight
me
would
to
still
let you in
indicate
on a little something about the night
for
of
its
crime.
indication.
It was raining.
Raining?
What?
Think for a second. If Miss Pamel went out the back door with her hooves covered in this paint, then it could have all been easily washed off in the rain.
But there was still glitter on her mane and hooves. The rain would have washed those out as well.
It seems as if you've forgotten this little bit of testimony from Playwright.
Well, there was a small pile of glitter and a glitter-stained fabric roll next to Miss Pommel, but I didn't pay them much attention, really.
The glitter in Miss Pamel's mane and on her hooves could have been added after returning to the catwalk. She could have seen the pile of glitter left lying there, put some of it on her mane and hooves, and then simply touched the fabric roll to leave glitter marks on it.
Do you even know what you're saying right now? You're talking as if she replanted the glitter on herself on purpose. Why would she want to frame herself for the crime?
To give the illusion that a third party exists, of course.
What?
That's
Yes,
stupid.
It's all coming together now. After
Is
cleaning
it?
herself in the rain, Miss Pommel realized that she would have been caught red-hoofed because of all of the remaining evidence pointing to her. So, making the best of a bad situation, she improvised, fabricating her own evidence to make it appear as if she had been framed.
Huh?
Order in the court! Prince Blueblood, are you accusing the defendant of tampering with the crime scene?
Why would she?
Of course I am, Your Honor.
Objection! That's ridiculous! Why would my client decide to fabricate evidence? If she washed herself off in the rain, then that would already make her look innocent. What would compel her to put herself at risk and go as far to mess with the crime scene?
I've already said it multiple times. It's to create the illusion of a third party. The defendant was smart enough to foresee that she would be the initial suspect in this murder, so she did everything she could to fabricate evidence in order to tell a story of a third party escaping the scene after knocking her out and causing her to lose her memory.
That's insane!
Oh my
Prince
god!
Blueblood, I am honestly having some difficulty believing all of this to be possible.
Oh, if this is Blue Blood making assumptions, or if it's actually true, then oh, I really want to
Your
say
Honor,
it's an
I am
assumption.
confident another theory can demonstrate to the court why I am right.
If Coco was just normal before losing her memory, she wouldn't do that.
Allow me
She
to
wouldn't
run
steep
through
so
my
low.
theory of the events after the murder had been committed. First, the defendant went down from the catwalk and outside to wash her hooves. Next, she retrieved the fabric where she had initially hidden it. Heading back outside, she found a secure hiding spot where it wouldn't be found by the police. As she was hiding the fabric, she tore off a piece of it as part of her ploy to create misleading evidence. Lastly, she ran back up to the catwalk and covered her hooves in glitter, while also leaving some traces of it in her mane. She then dropped the piece of fabric off the catwalk and left glitter marks on the fabric roll. All of this was done to fool us into thinking that a third party had stolen the fabric, ran up the catwalk, killed the victim, and hit her on the head before escaping. Don't you see, human? You've fallen right into her trap.
This is preposterous! You're truly saying that the defendant forged evidence to make herself look innocent?
Indeed I am, Your Honor. I can see right through her little tricks. And this filthy human fell for it.
No! There has to be something I'm missing. Something that proves Coco didn't do anything that Blue Blood is suggesting. Do you have something, Twilight?
Huh?
You've been quiet for a while now. Have you thought of something?
Sort of.
Well, do you think it'll get us out of this situation?
Well, I think so.
Really? What is it?
Think about where the paint came from.
You mean the dressing room?
Yes.
Dressing
You
room.
said that a third party could have also been in the dressing room to steal the fabric.
Yes.
That's what I suggested.
Let's assume what you said is true. If they were just trying to get the fabric, then how would their hooves get wet with the paint? And we can't say that it was from the paint can since there were no spills anywhere when we went in the dressing room.
So, what do you think could have happened?
Do you remember what Playwright said?
The intermission started at around 8 o'clock and it ended at 8:15. The second act would have run from then until 9 o'clock if Overall hadn't been murdered.
Did you see Overall at all during the intermission?
Actually, I did. He came on stage briefly to discuss something with me, and then he left right before the intermission ended. He said he and his assistant had to start working on coating a new sheet of fabric,
Fabric and paint.
If we consider that, and recall what Athena said during the investigation...
And Athena,
how long does it take for fluorescent paint to
paint to dry.
According to Junie, it takes about an hour.
An hour!
If Overall and Coco started coating the fabric and paint
Making
during
paint.
the intermission, which
From
lasted from
8:15
8 o'clock to
and the murder at
8:15,
8:50.
and the murder occurred at 8:50...
That means that the sheet of fabric Coco and Overall were working on was still drying when the crime occurred. That's how the third party could have left those hoof prints.
Oh,
Not just the
shoot!
hoof prints. There's something else.
Something else.
You claim Coco was knocked out from being hit with a fabric roll, right?
Wait.
Yeah, she still has glitter stuck on there from that night. That doesn't explain why there are no traces in Overall's mane, though.
Exactly. The only traces of glitter he had were on his forehooves.
On his hoofs.
So, what are you suggesting? That this third party hit Coco on the head with a fabric roll and then hit him with something else?
If some pony else was indeed present at the crime scene, I think it's safe to assume that they must have brought their own weapon ahead of time. They could have also used
But
that
what?
to hit Overall without leaving anything behind on his head. It's the only scenario that fits.
Okay, but what about Coco? She clearly had glitter left in her mane. Did the third party take the fabric roll from Overall after knocking him out?
I don't think so. In fact, I'm not entirely convinced that Overall was the one who brought the fabric roll up to the catwalk in the first place. Playwright didn't actually see Overall carrying the fabric roll after all. We just assumed that he must have because we thought he and Coco were the only ones to go up there.
But now that it's possible that the third party was running ahead of the two, they might have been the one to bring the fabric roll up to the catwalk instead.
Right! And if they had their own weapon with them, then why would they have brought the fabric roll?
Well, the only reason I can think of is because it had the fabric they wanted on it. Aha! Of course! Thanks, Twilight.
Mr. Wright, do you have anything to refute Prince Blueblood's theory?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Really? I sincerely doubt that. Enlighten me, human. What will you pull out of that spiky head of yours this time?
A pointy quill that will poke a hole in your theory. You suggested that this whole thing
A
was
pointy
fabricated
quill?
by Miss Palmel to make it look like she had been framed. Not only can I prove that to be false, but I can also demonstrate that a third party was behind the whole crime.
Then please explain to the court, Mr. Wright.
We're under the assumption that the hoof prints were made from the paint from the dressing room. While that might be correct, the source of the paint is what I believe changes everything.
Yes.
And what would this source be?
That would be the fabric roll.
Really?
Where are you going with this?
I'm getting there, Blue Blood. Just bear with me for a moment. Now, when this third party stole the special fabric from the dressing room, it still must have been wet from the paint.
And how do you know that?
Fluorescent paint takes at least 1 hour to dry completely. Overall, and
Yeah.
Coco started painting the fabric during the play's intermission.
Yep.
This means if we don't take into account the time taken to actually coat the fabric, the earliest that the fabric could have been completely dry is sometime between 9 o'clock and 9:15.
Yeah.
Since the crime occurred at 8:50, and there were no other completed versions of the fabric found at the theater, the only remaining possibility is that whomever stole the fabric must have taken the one that had recently been painted.
Yes.
Meaning it was still wet when they stole it.
Sweat. Very
So
key.
what?
Very key.
How does this prove anything?
You'll see in a second. No need to rush me. Now, The thief was likely unaware that the fabric was still wet when they stole it.
Yeah.
Because of this, they got their hooves covered in paint, causing them to leave the trail of hoofprints.
How long do you plan on continuing with this assertion of there being a third party? I've already shown how unlikely it is that they even exist. Why do you insist on prattling on about such an insane theory?
If you let me finish, Prince Blueblood, I'll show you just how sane it is. Now, when this third party stole the fabric, I initially assumed it was a sheet that they collected and placed in a bag that they had on them. However, I'd like to amend this theory.
Amend?
So what's your new theory then, Mr. Wright?
The fabric this third party stole wasn't a completed dry sheet laying on the table. Instead, I'm positive that the fabric was simply laying out to dry, and the third party rolled it up in a nearby fabric roll to collect the whole thing. They were stealthy for the most part, but eventually, either due to the noise they made, or just bad luck, the thief was caught right as they were about to leave. They took the rolled up fabric in their mouth and ran away up to the catwalk, with Coco and Overall in pursuit.
Yes.
And I suppose you're going to say that both of them were knocked out by this third party as soon as they reached the top of the catwalk? Nice try, but if that were the case, our victim would have some glitter in his mane as well, wouldn't you agree?
I do, actually.
Yeah.
But that's not my main point here. The thief could have easily used a different weapon on Overall when they attacked him. It's the
Yes.
weapon that knocked out Coco that will destroy your theory of her fabricating evidence.
The weapon?
As has been well established and demonstrated, Miss Pommel currently has glitter in her mane. This suggests that she was struck on the head with the fabric roll. And now that I've shown the possibility that the roll actually had Overall special fabric on it at the time, we have a much more likely scenario for how it got in Coco's mane. It came from the fabric that was on the roll.
The roll
In what
inside.
way does this disprove my theory, Defense? Besides, you've not done enough to prove that the fabric roll ever had any of the special fabric on it.
That's next on the agenda, actually. Now, if the fabric was still wet at the time, that would explain how the third party got their hooves covered in paint and left behind a trail of hoofprints. And if that is the case, something else would have also been left behind.
Oh?
Yes.
And what is that, Mr. Wright?
No! It can't be!
If Coco was struck on the head with the fabric roll when the fluorescent paint was still wet, then not only would glitter be left over, but there would also be traces of fluorescent paint on her as well.
Yes.
What? But what does that mean?
You didn't do it.
It means that not only was the special fabric really on the roll at the time of the crime, but it also means that Coco couldn't have gone outside to hide the fabric or wash her hooves.
Yes.
Because if she did, the glitter and the paint would have both been removed.
Yes.
Objection! She could have just reapplied it like she did with the glitter.
Objection!
She did.
Playwright and his employees were standing in the right wing after the murder. Coco couldn't have made it to the dressing room to get more paint to put on herself without being spotted.
Objection! That's assuming that Miss Pommel was struck in the first place. How about you show me that she was actually struck by the roll?
I'll do just that. By using the forensic flashlight again on Coco on the area where the glitter is still on her. Miss Pommel?
I've heard everything, Mr. Wright. Please go ahead and do what you need to do.
Oh, there it is!
There
Just
you go.
like Mr. Wright said!
No! No! No, no, no! This cannot be!
As the court can see, this evidence proves that not only could Miss Pommel not have been the one to steal the fabric or kill Mr. Concept, but also that without a doubt, this third party is the true culprit!
Ah!
Got him.
Order!
Bing, bang,
Order in the
bosh.
court!
Done.
But Mr. Wright, if this is true, then who is responsible for this murder?
Blue blood.
No, no, no! This was not supposed to happen! Human!
What is it?
Even if this third party somehow exists, you have no idea who it could be. And where in Celestia's name would we even begin to look? It could be any pony.
Then maybe I can make a suggestion.
Oh? What would that be, Miss Sparkle?
Prince Blueblood argued that Coco wanted the fabric to herself to get a better chance to win a fashion competition she's participating in. Correct?
And what of it?
Well, you just asked to narrow down our search of the mystery third party. If we're looking for some pony who'd want a fabric enough to kill for it, why not start with the other contestants of the fashion contest?
Yes.
While we're at it, we should try to find out if any of them have any connection to any pony directly involved in this case.
Who do you think you are, ordering me around like that?
I remember you mentioning something earlier, Prince Blueblood, that the contest is not particularly large and has several background checks. Those checks would involve taking their prints, right?
You both seem to have forgotten that Coco Pomel is the only pony who could have known that this special fabric even exists.
That may be the case right now, but I would still like the records of all the hoof prints and horseshoes of every pony in that fashion contest.
Yeah.
If they match with the fluorescent hoof prints
Use
left
the
behind,
flashlight on
then I say that's
every
all
one of
proof
those
we need
ponies.
to show that there was indeed a third pony at the scene of the crime.
I agree with Miss
Good
Sparkle.
idea. Good idea,
I
Twilight.
presume this can be done relatively quickly.
It shouldn't take long, Your Honor.
Very well.
Do him
I shall
first.
grant a 30-minute recess to have the police run an analysis to
Here we
determine
go.
if any of the hoof prints of the contestants match the trail left behind at the theater.
And whoever the third one is
Believe
the
this?
one.
How could I have let this
Is the one that
filthy,
did it.
spiky-headed human get away with this?
Court is adjourned.
There we go. Right. That it? Nah, not it yet. But my bet is Blue Blood. Blue Blood. That is my all-out bet.
Whew, that was a little intense, but we pulled through.
A little intense? My heart couldn't take that entire trial. But I'm so happy you've been able to help Coco.
We're not done yet, though. I may have proven that someone other than Coco could have done it, but she hasn't received the acquittal yet. We've still got a long way to go.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, Miss Pommel.
Coco, you don't need to worry about a thing anymore. Phoenix is on his way to kick that prince's sorry flank, and you'll be out scot-free.
Yes, I'm very grateful, Mr. Wright.
So, why the long face, darling?
What the prince said about Overall, that he planned to propose to me, was
Oh,
that
yeah.
true?
Oh, well, you always said in your letters that he cared a lot about you. So it wouldn't surprise me if he took it to the next level. And, well, I was supposed to keep it a secret, but it wasn't too long ago that he requested me to look for a special gem for you. He
Oh.
said he wanted the gem to match your eyes. So from it, he fashioned a ring.
He said that about me? He actually wanted to propose to me? It's a beautiful ring. I would have happily said yes.
Oh, there, darling. I know this is hard for you, but you must be strong right now. Overall would not want to see you like this. Keep shining bright like that gem.
You're right, Rarity. Overall wouldn't want to see me like this. I have to be strong. For
Shine
him
bright
and
like
for
a
me.
diamond.
That's the spirit, Coco.
I'm glad you're feeling better, Miss Pommel.
Thanks, Mr. Wright. I wouldn't be here without you.
Actually, while you're here, I'd like to ask you a couple questions.
Oh, of course. Go ahead.
Since we started discussing the events that you were involved with on the night of the murder, have you been able to remember anything else?
Well, yes, actually. It was a bit slow, but I've been regaining my memories as the trial was going on.
Anything at all will help greatly.
Okay, cool.
I remember that Overall and I had been working on the special fabric in the dressing room during the second
Okay,
act of the
yes,
play.
yes.
We had just finished coating on the true rolls of fabric with the fluorescent paint once the second act was nearing its conclusion.
Yep.
So we were right. The fabric that was stolen was the one you two had been painting.
Yep.
Yeah. We set it out on the table to dry. After that, I stepped out for a minute to wash my hooves of the glitter and paint.
You left the room?
Yes,
Okay.
but only for a few minutes.
Okay, so she left.
If the thief was nearby, they may have seen Coco leave the room and taken advantage of that opportunity. So, what happened after that?
Well, while I was returning to the dressing room, I saw Overall sprinting out the door. I called out to him, but he didn't answer, so I followed him. I saw him running up the catwalk, and I was afraid that he would hurt himself up there because it was so dark, so I quickly turned on the safety lights and continued to follow. On the way up the stairs, I heard a loud clicking noise, and I ran as quickly as I could to see what happened, and that's all I remember.
Playwright mentioned a clang too, if I recall.
Okay.
That must have been when Overall was struck on the head with that unidentified weapon. What could it have been? Something...
Something metal with the clang sound.
Do you remember anything after that?
Something metal.
I do. After I woke up,
Like a
I
pipe?
saw that there was an empty fabric roll in
Pipe?
my hooves,
Pipe?
which were, for some
bar?
reason, completely covered in glitter once again.
The fabric roll was left in your hooves, and the glitter reappeared? Are you certain you washed all of the glitter off of yourself in the first place?
I'm sure of it, Mr. Wright. I don't know how the glitter got on my hooves again, and I'm not sure how this empty fabric roll ended up where it did, either.
I see. Better make a note of that.
Glitter stained fabric roll. Rolls in right.
Is there anything else you can tell me?
Not that I know of. Everything else happened exactly as Playwright testified. He stayed with me until I was taken away by the police. As soon as I got to my cell, I shook the glitter off my hooves as best I could.
I see. Well, hopefully what you do remember will be useful in some way.
So, Mr. Wright.
Now, Twilight, I have a question for you.
What is it, Phoenix?
I'm curious as to why you're so sure that the third pony from the incident was a contestant of this fashion contest. I don't understand how anyone else in the contest would have known about the fabric. And just because they could possibly have a reason to steal the fabric for themselves, it's still not exactly a concrete conclusion, even if it did help us out.
I understand your uncertainty, Phoenix. I'm pretty sure all the contestants would be confident in their own ability to win. However, there is one particular mare that we know that would do whatever it took to win.
Well, who would that be?
Surrey Polo Mare.
Whoa. The mood turned
Oh, Surrey Polo Mare.
Surrey Polo Mare. Huh. Who is she?
The one from
Do you
the
recall when Rarity bumped into that one mare during yesterday's
Yeah.
Oh, that pony? I
Yeah.
remember now. So, her name is Surrey Polo Mare.
Surrey
What,
Polo
does she
Mare,
have
that's
anything
it.
to do with the case?
Do you remember what she said back then?
I don't. What did she say?
I've no time to waste on you, Rarity. I'm on a tight schedule, so you better stay out of my way. I don't want another victory taken away by your hooves, okay?
Yeah, she even mentioned Rarity taking away another victory.
Taking away
What
another
did she
victory?
mean?
She a prosecutor?
I believe I can explain.
She a prosecutor?
Several months ago, I was involved in a similar fashion contest to the one Coco
Never mind.
and Surrey was a contestant as well. I had my own special fabric, and she was enamored by it. So I let her use the fabric for small touches on her own designs. She ended up using my entire fabric and claimed it as her own. Despite that, I managed to beat her. But I didn't know that I won until Coco told me.
What do you mean?
Well, remember when I said I was an assistant of some pony?
Wait. Are you saying it was Surrey?
No.
Yes, it was
Oh
her.
my
In fact,
god,
when
no.
Surrey got a hold of Rarity's fabric, instead of making the dresses herself, she made me do it. It was excruciating. And that part about Rarity not knowing that she won the contest until I told her. Surrey was the one who lied to Rarity and her friends and made me keep quiet about it, too.
Oh, so earlier in the trial... Did you really have so little money that you could barely afford a place to live?
Yes, especially after equipping an assistant to my mentor. She always made enough for both of us with the designs she sold.
That's her. That's her. Wow.
Suri is a great designer, but when it came to whose work she would sell, she almost always chose to sell designs I had made over her own. She didn't even have the courtesy to mention that they weren't hers.
Wow, this pony sounds so selfish.
I know, right? Not giving Saponi proper
Just
credit
self-obsessed,
and stealing
or
to boot.
like, of
She has
herself and
absolutely
her.
no dignity.
Yeah.
But do you think she would actually go as far as
Take credit from others and put them as herself.
I don't know. I don't think she's that heartless. But if those hoof prints actually belonged to her, then it couldn't have been any pony else.
Hopefully the hoofprint analysis will give us the answers we need.
The trial is about to resume. Will the defendant and her attorney please return to the courtroom?
It looks like they've already finished their investigation. Let's hope we don't get any bad news from
Right,
this.
I think this is where
Hold
it's going
up,
to
Twilight.
stop.
There's still one more thing I want to talk to Coco about.
Oh?
Huh? What is it?
Coco, you hid your true relationship with Overall from me on purpose, didn't you? I want to know why.
After working with Suri for so long, I began to believe in her philosophy.
The idea that it's every pony for themselves in the big city.
Uh-huh. I encountered so many ponies like that while working with Suri that eventually I just started to believe it was true. It wasn't until Rarity came along that I realized there were ponies out there who put the well-being of others before themselves.
But what does this have to do with why you hid your relationship with Overall?
Even though I now know there are selfless ponies out there, it doesn't change the fact that there are many who do think and act selfishly, and assume the same from others. That's why I thought it would be better if you didn't know the truth about us. I was worried that if you did, and realized what it meant, you'd have noticed how strong motive I had to kill him, and wouldn't have taken my case as a result.
I see. You said something similar yesterday, I believe.
Well, you were in the area where he fell. Still, just because you were at the scene of the crime, it doesn't mean you did it.
I know, but everybody who saw me thought I did it.
Rarity doesn't think you did it. She certainly believes you wouldn't have the heart to kill.
Although I appreciate her believing I didn't do it, it's not enough to convince every pony else.
You were frightened by the looks everyone was giving you while you were being arrested. And that's why you thought you had to hide the truth from me.
Yeah.
But because of that, Coco, we were put in a very tough spot. I was completely unprepared to argue against Blue Blood's assertions. It was only because of Twilight's quick thinking that we managed to escape a guilty verdict there.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
If you want me to help you the best I can, I'm going to need you to trust me.
Trust?
Yes. We defense attorneys fight for the innocence of our clients, through our ability to trust completely in that innocence. However, in order to fight as hard as we can, we need our clients to believe in us and tell us everything they can, so we can make the truth known.
You would have trusted Overall with the whole truth. Right, Coco?
Of course.
Then you must do the same for Mr. Right. He and Twilight are both trying their hardest to help
My
you.
legs.
Trust in me, Coco, and I promise I will believe in and fight for you until the bitter end.
Okay, Mr. Right. I trust you. From now on, I'll tell you everything I know about the murder.
Thank you, Coco.
We've got to get going now, Phoenix. We don't want to damage our case by being late.
Right. Let's go then. Hopefully we can put an end to this, here and now.
Yep. To be continued. To be concluded. Oh, Suri. Suri is coming to the court. Well. that was another amazing part. Shout out to all these people. Shout out to every single one of these people who put so many efforts into over a year work to send out another part. Special thanks and you for watching. Yes, and thank you for making the time and effort to put so much into this. Yes, the sequel for Turnabout Storm. And there you go. That's the end. Well, 2 hours, 8 minutes, and 50 seconds. The finale the finale was like over 1 hour. Yeah, it was over 1 hour. This is the longest. This is the longest video of a Phoenix Wright and My Little Pony fan made video entirely of all of them, from the old project, new project. Out of all of them, this is the longest, and the longest video of me doing this reaction of this. Wow. But apart from that, great episode. Loved the animation. Really loved the animation. From Twilight, from every pony characters. Coco, Blue Blood, Twilight, Rarity, well, apart from the Phoenix Wright characters like Phoenix, Athena, Apollo, Trucy, the judge, the judge being there in court again is like, oh, Judge, you're back. What the hey? But yeah, this was another amazing part to this project, and however long it's going to be for the last part of Case 1 to appear, then yeah, I'll be here, I'll be waiting, and I fully support this project because I love both Phoenix Wright and My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. So yeah, so another incredible episode, so yeah, so shout out to all the guys and all the voice actors for this project. Really great job. So that is it. Wow, this is the longest reaction that I've done, but thank you very much everyone for sticking by with me during this part of the video. And if you have reached this part of the video, and if you have enjoyed my reaction to Elements of Justice Turnabout Theatre Case 1 Part 2 of 3, then please smash the like down below. It would be very much appreciated that you have enjoyed my reaction, and yeah, and that would make me feel happy as well. that you liked this video and my content as well. And if you are new to my channel and want to check out more of my videos, then you can by hitting the subscribe button and turning the notification bell for more updating content for when I upload my next video. My Twitter is @ElusiveAl21. My BitChute is also called ElusiveAl for other content that I can't put on to YouTube. For example, I'm doing ReZero and other stuff that you can't put onto YouTube because of guidelines. So BitChute is another source of way to watch. Instagram, it's FurnishTom17. And yeah, that is it. That is it, really. So, yeah. So thank you very, very, very much, everyone, for watching the longest reaction video that I have done yet. I don't know if the next part is going to be like excessively long, but we'll just have to see. But as of now, and also I'll leave the original video of this down below in the description for you guys to check out as well. Go check it out for yourselves. It's really incredible, and I fully support this project of what they're doing. But as of now, thank you very much, everyone, for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.